Hi, Steve here, welcome back to tutorial 2. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how we set the Dutches, and as I said in tutorial 1, Dutch 1, Dutch 2 and Dutch 3 are completely independent of each other, and whatever setting we make on Dutch 1 here, it will only affect Dutch 1, it will not affect 2 or 3. So the first choice we have here is the countries, and you can see here I've got GBR, Great Britain, ticked because I only want Great Britain Dutch 1 to bet on Great Britain. Minimum price is what is the minimum price of the dogs that we are going to bet, what will we accept. So I've got 2 and the maximum is 10. If we go down here we can just see here I'm doing the Dutch, I'm Dutching the first and second favourite, so that means as long as the first 2 dogs are priced between 2 and 10 then that condition is met. The next condition I've got is minimum price for the first favourite is 2 and no more than 5. Now that's quite wide, and you could shorten that if you wanted to. These are I'm just explaining how the settings work. Next is time to bet. When are we betting? Well, we're betting before the off, obviously it's greyhound racing, and how many seconds before? I've got 5, it's up to you. Obviously the closer you get to the off, the more accurate the market should be. Minimum match, now I've got 2,000, but you know, in Australia sometimes the meetings aren't getting matched at 2,000 because they're below that, so it's up to you what you want to put. Obviously the higher amount you put, the more money that's in the market and the better guide that the market is as far as price goes. Profit delta is the extra profit we want to make after a losing race. So down below I'll show you we have a target that we're going to make, and then if that first race should lose, say in this case I've got a 10p target, if that race should lose, my profit delta is 5p. It means every time we have a losing race before we get a winning race, then 5p is going to be added. So on race 2 we would still have our 10p target and we would add 5p, so that would be 15p we're looking at in profit, plus we'd be looking at recouping any of the losses that we'd staked beforehand. So that's what profit delta is. I'm looking for 5 cents or 5p. Minimum runners, well, pretty straightforward. How many runners do you want? I've got 5, and obviously the maximum would be 8 if you're doing Australia, or 6 if you're doing the UK. Now the minimum distance, what's the distance of the races you want? I've got 200 here. You can have whatever you like. You may want to keep it tight, or you may not want long distance races. It's up to you. So that's the range. If the race is between 200 and 900, then the bet will be, that condition will be met. The next is action in play, and I suggest you always keep it at place SP. That means what happens is at the 5-second mark the bot will make the bets for the greyhounds that qualify, but if the bet can't get matched, say the price drops or something, then at SP the bot will take the SP price. Okay, so you've got keep, cancel or SP. Always keep it at place at SP. Maximum book price is what the market, what price is the market, and I've got 120. Most of the dog markets will be up to around 110, 120 just before the off. So the higher the market percentage, the more imbalanced the prices are and not a true guide of the market. So I've got 120 there. And now what is the difference between the maximum book percent and the maximum Dutch percent? The maximum Dutch percent is of the dogs that you are selecting, or the bot is selecting. So down here we've got the Dutch, the favourite, and the second favourite. Now this percentage here is 103%, so we would not expect 2 dogs to be over 103% of that market. Okay, so the lower you go, then what happens is if you've got 2 dogs that are say like 2.1 and 2.2 in the market, you're getting very close to being over the 100%. So if you had 80 here, for example, like we used in the horses, 80%, a lot of the time the first 2 favourites will be more than 80% of the market. If that's the case, then that bet will not be placed. So I just keep it at 103 for my own. And if you're doing 3 dogs, well, you know, the lower you go here, the less chance of getting the bets put on. While I'm talking about selections, before we go into the staking, let's leave the staking separate and we'll go back to it. So in the Dutch here, I talked about it briefly in tutorial 1. We have the choice of Dutching the favourites, the first 4 favourites, so we can take all 4 if we wanted to, or we can take just 1 or just 2 or 3, and you can miss out one, so you could have the first favourite, the third favourite and the 4th favourite if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you. The other option that you have is Dutching based on traps. Now, if you use this option here, then the trap Dutch settings here comes into play. Okay, so this is where you can set individual tracks to what traps that you want on those tracks. For example, if you're betting cork, you might want on trap 1 and trap 2, and over here as a reserve trap you might want trap 6. Okay, so if one of these traps is empty, then it will substitute for trap 6. Now once you set these up, these will stay permanent. Now we give you 2 sites of where to get the stats to help you if you want to use this option. Okay, so that's the 2 sort of Dutchings that we can do. We can just do it based purely by the traps, and as long as the traps obviously are meeting your price criteria up here, then the bets will get placed. So what we've got down here is the UK races, is we've got all the categories of races. So if you don't want to bet maidens or you don't want to bet some certain classes, you can untick them and the bot will miss those races out. And same with Australia. If you don't want maidens or you don't want novices or something like that, or you only want to bet free for all, then you can just do that if you want to. Now the trap boxes only belongs to this here, the favourites, the Dutch favourites. It doesn't affect the first option that I've got highlighted there. So the Dutch favourites are only governed by this box here. So if we wanted the Dutch favourites and we only wanted them to jump from box 1, 2 or 3, then we could untick that. So if these 2 dogs weren't running from either of these 3 boxes, in this case the bet would not go on. Okay, I'll just tick these back again. Now while it says box or trap and we've got 9 or 10 here, there is no 9 or 10 trap in Australia or anywhere, but it just means that if dog 9 gets a start, that we would accept it, and dog 10 we would accept it. Mexican Wave, I'll talk about Mexican Wave in a separate video, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the staking here, how the staking works, and that in video 3. Okay, so I won't tell you how to set this stop the profit and all that until video 3, because I'll use video 3 as the complete staking, and we'll talk about these tabs up along the top and how they come into play. Okay, so thanks for watching this tutorial on setting up the Dutches, and of course Dutch 2 and Dutch 3 are just a mirror image of what we've done in Dutch 1. Okay, but you've obviously got different criteria that you want to use. So thanks for watching tutorial 2, and I'll see you back in tutorial 3. This is Steve signing off, hoping your day is just going swimmingly. Thank you.